Welcome to the Contractors Secret Weapon Radio Podcast, the show dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, and others in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over their competition. Get ready for some inspiration, some encouragement, some proven business building strategies, and a couple of new ideas that can take your business to the next level and beyond. And now, broadcasting from the Contractors Secret Weapon Studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dave Negri.
You're good.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Podcast. How about Contractors Secret Weapon?
I don't know. Podcaster Secret Weapon? It's got a nice ring to it.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that's got that.
I'm sure.
Your host on the right-hand side of your screen. Maybe.
That's the thing is, I think when it records it, actually
reverse it.
A little box around it. That's the screen that gets recorded. So it's switching back and forth.
Oh, okay.
You and I just happen to see it laid out like we're next to each other.
All right. So you're seeing me now.
Right. Yeah.
Now they're seeing you. Go ahead, talk.
I don't know what to say. Okay.
So today we wanted to bring to you.
This is what we call one of the highest professional level podcasts that people can listen to. That's what that is right there. That's what they just experienced.
Well, isn't this homegrown?
This is authentic. That's the term.
Yes, very, very. So what were we going to talk about? Oh, we want to talk about what's more important, immediate profit or long-term profit.
Why don't you start off by kind of helping people understand exactly what you mean by immediate profit versus long-term profit?
Okay. I look at it this way. Most contractors and most business people, it's not just contractors, when they get a sale, they look at immediate profit. So they will ultimately have a price and they'll say, okay, that's so I'm going to make $200 on this deal. And they wouldn't go and do it for 100 because they think they need to make that immediate $200 profit. But the future, the now is where you make your money. The future is where you stay in business. And if you can do both, that's awesome. But I think, going back to your secret sauce, Pete, we talked about, how do you get more customers, better customers, and you have your existing clients. So how do you do that? You continue to keep in touch with them. You market them. You don't forget about them. And that's where your long-term profits come in, is by doing that. So if you have been in business 5 years and you don't have any repeat customers, then you're doing something wrong. If you have a lot of repeat customers, then you're doing something good because you have a system that you're working to get them to do more business with you. And they're more than likely referring you. And I always like to say that, people refer like-minded people. So if you have cheapskates that you're fighting with all the time, then they're referring you the same type of people. But if you have high-end clients, like my clients, I have a target audience, and they refer people who live in those houses that I do business with. So if I'm doing $500,000, $600,000 homes, then those are the type of people that refer me to their friends and family who own those types of homes.
Right.
So they're not looking for price particularly, but they're looking for the value. What can I get? Can I trust them? So this just plays out into the long end of the game. So ultimately, which is better? I think that personally, if you're going to stay in business for a long period of time, then your long-term profit is what's going to keep you in business, and it's going to actually grow your business because of the ramifications of doing the right things. So, Pete, what are some of the right things that you would do?
Well, let me go back and kind of address part of what you just talked about, and that is the immediate profit versus the long-term profit. And let me give it a little bit of a different context here, because when I hear you talk about that, when I got started in my own business, I started out as a financial planner and then eventually started my own financial planning firm. And I used to tell all of my agents, I'd say, look, we sell specifically life insurance for our now money, the money that we live on today. And then we put all of the old 401ks, the IRAs, into what we call managed money. So those are at that time, our managed accounts. I go, that's our long-term income. And we always needed the combo, right? Because you need the immediate money to feed yourself today, literally to feed yourself, to put food on the table that night, to pay your bills, your car bill, your mortgage, all that stuff. And then the long-term money, that was what made life easier the next year. Because we knew on January 1st, we were starting off with, the first year, probably $20,000 in income. And then year 2, $40,000.
Right.
And then year 3, $80,000. I kept building and building and compounding. So we could start off January 1st knowing we have X amount of dollars that's going to come in. Like it's going to come in. Like in financial planning, you don't make it all on January 1st. Like in our case, we charged it quarterly. So we make a quarter of it January 1st and then a quarter of it, whatever it is, March 1st or, April 1st. Right. I can't remember now. It's been so long since I did all that. But that was the combo, and you needed to have both, right? Because you needed the now money. Now, the reality is the long-term money was not enough to pay for the advertising that we did to get new clients.
Correct. Okay.
So we needed the now money, right? We needed the immediate money because we needed to actually go out there and advertise to bring those clients in. But if all we did was look at the insurance money as this is where our income comes from, and there is no long-term money, then the problem becomes, okay, now we're always spinning our wheels. We're always working, and there is no January 1st with $80,000 coming in, or $200,000 or $500,000 or whatever. I mean, I was literally talking with a guy a couple of weeks ago when I was at that networking group, and he has $4.5 million in commissions that come in as managed money. So that's his income, right? Because he built it up, I think, basically $450 million he's got under management, and you basically get a percent of that as your fee. And when you're at that point, okay, well, now you have enough in long term where you can spend the money to advertise and only make the money on the long term side.
Right. Okay.
Whereas, you can't. Yeah, you can't when you're first starting out. So I think that's important for people to understand is what you're talking about is you've got to have that immediate money because you still have bills that you got to pay immediately right now today. Yeah. But if you're not focusing on the fact that now here's where the difference is between financial planning and in the contracting world. You can make just as much on the long-term facet of your client as you could on day one. Like with us, when it goes under managed money, like let's say I take someone's IRA and we made a 1.5%, and they got $100,000. Well, that's $1,500 a year to me. You might go, oh, that's great. That's $1,500. Well, not really, because first of all, it's paid out quarterly. So I'm only going to get 25% of that a quarter. And then I got all of the admin costs, right? Because I still got to send them all of their statements. I still got to do all of the math that has to be done. It's not free money, right? I still have to work for it. And it's never going to be like a big pop where, oh, cool, we just, stuck this person into a life insurance or an annuity and we made $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it might be. So for us, we had to have that short-term money. But the reason why I'm bringing all this up is in the contracting world, let's say you're doing a roof. Well, if I do your roof today, maybe I'm going to charge you $15,000. And then you've got a second property. Well, that could be another $15,000.
Sure.
So the difference
or the guy owns a business.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
And then,
he owns a business or the other stuff, we're redoing the bathroom. We're putting on an addition. Right. It's not like in my case, it was always going to be small peanuts on the long-term money.
And small chunks can be good. It depends.
Yes.
Because now another thing, like you were mentioning roofing. So I know that every 15 years or better, you get a new roof. Well, you got to put in a lot of customers, to run a very successful organization. And everyone runs their marketing to that. But if you took that and you created I'm just going to call it a continuity program where you, as a roofer, created a roof inspection once a year for your clients, charge them X amount of dollars. And you could do some, put them to the head of the call list for repairs and stuff like that. So if you can get an extra $400 a year or $500 a year, now what would happen if you had 1,000 customers?
Right.
That you could do that to.
And understand too, guys, that's a huge benefit to the average person. Like, I've got skylights, and I don't think I've ever had a single one of my skylights not leak.
Right.
So if someone had come to me and said, "Hey, look, Pete, we got this maintenance program, and let me tell you why you want this maintenance program, because you've got skylights, and while they might be good right now, they're going to leak. And when they leak, like, I'll give you a great example, guys. My last skylight, I had to have someone come out and fix it, and it cost me $1,000. I mean, that was another $1,000. And the reality is I would have had it fixed before then if I would have known it only cost $1,000. But again, I'm not a contractor, so what's the thought going through my head? Great, it's $5,000, it's $8,000, whatever it is, right? And I'm looking at it going, that's more money than I feel like spending right now. Can I get around this? Can I, whatever. But the point is like, if you offered someone, these kind of maintenance type programs, a certain percentage of them are going to take you up on it. And it's not like it's a lot of work to you. But again, imagine starting out January 1st, knowing, like using your example, Dave, let's say you got 1,000 customers at $500 a year, knowing on January 1st, hey, we got $500,000 coming in this year. That doesn't mean $500,000 of profit, right? We're not talking about that, but $500,000 of revenue, that's going to pay a lot of bills. And so you got to have that stuff. You got to have that.
And here's another interesting caveat just on that one thought of the creating that additional revenue. That one item will increase the value of your business substantially,
right?
Because now you have income coming in on a regular basis that you don't have to go out. So technically, you have a customer list to sell.
And that's, I think, a really key thing to understand is, yes, it provides this additional revenue to your business. It provides stability to your business. But when you're ready to exit, it provides a value that someone else will be willing to spend money on. Someone else will be willing to pay for that business because they're walking into $500,000 a year in revenue. I mean, that's a big deal. Because most businesses don't have that. I mean, okay, if I go out there and if I were to buy a mechanic shop, what am I buying? I'm buying maybe tools. Most of the time you don't even get the tools, right? Those are owned by the individual mechanics. Right. I'm usually going to be leasing some property that probably got all kinds of, I'm here in California, right? So it's going to have all kinds of chemical issues that I'm going to end up paying for, right? We got stupid. We got this thing called Prop 65 where every business has to warn if there's any cancer-causing materials. And so I kid you not, I went to Home Depot, and in the wood department, there are signs that say, this store has wood dust, a form that is known to the state of California to cause cancer. I'm like, it's dust. It's wood. This is how stupid my state is. They're warning us that dust can cause cancer. So that's beside the point. My point is like, right, whatever someone's buying, if I buy a mechanic, I'm buying problems. I'm buying a headache. Sure. And I'm hoping that the location is good enough, and that's why people come. But if you've got an actual reason why people come there, like you've got the mechanic shop that has an ongoing maintenance plan where people pay X amount per year or whatever, and with that includes all of their oil changes and a tune-up and whatever, and you were selling that, well, what would you rather buy if you were in the market to buy a new business? You would want to buy the one that had guaranteed income coming in, because that means guaranteed clients. Right? Absolutely. That means upsells that you get to make later. And that's what we're talking about here, guys. And it's really important that you have that in your business. And if you don't have that in your business, why not? Why don't you have that in your business? What's it going to take for you to put that into your business? And I would actually suggest that what it's going to take for you to put that in your business is, to be blunt here, you are going to need to come to mine and Dave's program that we're putting on, because this is one of those steps. We've got 9 steps, and this is one of the steps that you need to have in your business, because that's what you want. You want to have a business that's going to keep basically producing income for you, whether or not you're out there actually working every day. Am I right, Dave?
Hey, I don't like to work. I just want the money to come in.
Yeah.
At this point. Of course, getting everything set up, getting the system set up and the things you want, that's going to take a little bit of time, but everything is always worth the work in the end.
Right. Yeah.
And so the pain is up front instead of the pain being behind when you're not making any money.
Right.
What's you rather have?
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer, and people love it. People love it. I had that with some of my customers, and I'm thinking, why didn't I do that before?
Yeah.
Every year I get my average, was $1,000 a year, yearly maintenance, and we did we pressure cleaned, we washed windows, got the house cleaned up. There was some labor that we put into that, but invariably, every year, I've got an extra $2,000 a year out of them and doing extra things. So they knew I was coming every April. So at the beginning, in May, I'd send them a card, send them a Starbucks card, say, hey, this is the date we're coming. What we're going to do. Here's a Starbucks card. Go to Starbucks. Make me up a list of things additional you want done. And they'd have me on the list. And, so instead of repainting their house every 7 to 8 years, well, actually 10 years, and getting, $4,000 or $5,000, I got $3,000 of the year for the 15 years in the maintenance program and taking care of their house.
Right.
So you got $5,000 for 15 years, or as opposed to, say, 3 times 15, 45,000. That's a no-brainer.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing too that I would suggest to people is, I want you to think about this. What would it feel like? All right, because by the time this airs, I think this is airing on this Monday, so we got 6 weeks left to the year. What would it feel like to know January 1st you had an extra $100,000 to $200,000 coming in? What would that feel like to you? Imagine the stress that would be off of your shoulders. Even though the $200,000 is not pure profit, maybe only $100,000 of it's profit. But to go into January knowing I got a couple $100,000 coming in, and while you may not have that between now and January, right? But if you don't start this now, it's never going to happen for you.
Right. And you can have that money just by plugging a couple of leaks.
Exactly. Exactly.
Forget about adding any more thoughts or systems to your business. Just by plugging a few leaks, you can probably get most of that back.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you're doing $1 million a year.
Yeah, and the reality is most of the stuff I don't think is very difficult to implement in business. I think the stumbling block that most people have is they don't know where to begin.
Right.
It's that getting started thing. And I think that's really the benefit. Like in my own life, I can look back, and we talked about, I think it was our last podcast. I went through some guy's course and spent $8,000 between the course and travel and the hotel and all that to go through it. And it still took me like a year to implement. And I look back on it now and I'm like, that at least cost me $1 million, at least, because I didn't implement on it sooner. And so what I would suggest to you right now as you're listening to this is it's costing you anywhere between $100,000 and $1 million a year to not implement these things that Dave and I keep talking to you about. And that's significant pain. How long have you been in business? If you've been in business 5 years, and let's say bare minimum, you lost $100,000 a year, that's $500,000 that you don't have today that you could have. If it was $1 million, that's $5 million that you could have today that you don't have. And that's why you just got to get started. You just got to actually implement. And that means you just, basically gird up your loins like a man and say, all right, I'm going to do this.
Man, just do it.
Just do it. Right? We talked about that with the non-negotiables last week. You just got to do it.
Done. Do it. And that's the biggest challenge. It's just, like you said, it's where do I start? How do I do it?
Right.
But, it's doing the one or two things first. You may have 20 things you want to do, but you can only do one or two at a time.
Right. And that's all it takes, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we like to call that your baseline strategy. You already got your baseline right now. That's everything that you've been doing. It's already producing that result. So if you literally just added one thing to that, you raise your baseline. And then once you got that whole thing squared away, then you add one more, boom. Now your baseline goes up and then up and then up and then up. It's when people go, oh, there's too much to do here. I got 20 things to do. I got 30 things to do. Well, yeah, that would overwhelm anybody. You can't look at it that way. You just got to start, boom, right there. Add the one thing, boom, and then we just keep adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up over time. And that's where the magic really starts to happen. And it's those micro changes that have a massive impact on your business.
Absolutely. It's really, when you think about it and you look back, it's the little tweaks that you did that made all the difference in the world.
Yep, that's it. So here's the deal, guys. We're going to be coming out, Dave and I are going to be coming out here probably on next week's podcast with an invitation for you to come to an event that Dave and I are putting on. I would really encourage you to do it. Be one of the first 12 people to elect to do it, because we're not going to have a big group. We want it to be small, intimate, because we want to have a massive impact on you and your business. In the meantime, look at the show notes. There's a link to the report that I put together, how to 8 times your business profits. You can text in to get it, or you can go to a landing page. So just look in the show notes and check that out and go get that report. That'll get you thinking along the right lines and moving along the right stuff. And so, Dave, is there anything else you wanted to add on?
No, I'm good. We just went through a lot.
Yeah, we went through what could be, I think, a massive change in someone's business if they were to take that idea and implement it.
Absolutely.
So, all right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week with another great episode. Take care, everybody.
See you.